Well, we just watched the Ravens beat the Chargers Sunday Night Football. Couple quick thoughts on the new YouTube page. This is YouTube only. Make sure you subscribe to the page. Appreciate everyone that has. All of our content all week, beside this, is up on the 3 and Out feed. So go subscribe to that as well if you listen to podcasts, which I'm sure many of you do. And we will have a lot of content out all week long because it's starting to get real. The playoffs aren't too far away. Went on with Coward before the Sunday night game. You can find that on his podcast feed, on the Herds feed, up on the Colin Coward YouTube page. So we got a lot of content out there. We have you covered, but let's dive into some Ravens and Chargers thoughts. Before you do that, though, grab your smartphone, download a little app that we like to call Gametime. It's the official ticketing app of this podcast. Go get yourself a pair of tickets, sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and use the promo code John. Your first pair of tickets, promo code John, $20 off. Cannot recommend them enough. Love my friends at Gametime. You know what's funny is I was going to be like, should I start with Jason Garrett? I'm like, no, let's be a little more positive. We'll get into that here in a second. On to the game. I have been easily one of the biggest critics of Brandon Staley before it was popular, just because, I don't know, I watch football. I watch the Chargers, who are a fantastic night team. That stadium, Sunday night, SoFi, but specifically with the Chargers when they have AFC opponents, looks fantastic. Someone tweeted me that something with the resolution that is 1080p, that some of CBS and Fox don't do. I don't know. Something about the lighting at SoFi Stadium at night, anytime the Chargers play, looks good with the Rams too, but I think the Chargers color, something about it, looks fantastic. It's a very, very easy game to watch. I got to give Brandon Staley some credit. Like tonight, the one thing you can do against the Chargers is light them up in the air. I mean, it's Jared Goff did it. Everyone does it. Jordan Love did it. People should be wide open. And Lamar Jackson should be able to throw for 300 yards pretty easily. I would have picked coming into this game, Ravens win 30-20. Lamar Jackson throws it all over the yard. They can't cover Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham gets his. All the little wide receivers, little running backs catching the ball out of the backfield are having a heyday. Look up, Lamar Jackson threw for 177 yards. And it felt for the majority of the game was hovering well under 150. So the Chargers, you come into the game clearly desperate, right? I mean, you're 4-6 coming in. You lose this. I'm sorry. Somehow some of these random teams like the Colts are 6-5, Texans are 6-5, and now the Broncos are 6-5. You're done. It's over. It unofficially ended last week to the Packers. It officially ends when you lose to the Ravens, who you're an underdog too, but it is at home, and you don't have a choice. Like you either win or no longer are you relevant. And I think we're immediately talking, does your coach survive? My take always with the Spanos is they don't want to fire a guy in season. They're going to pay him to work till the last second possibly. So I have never been one thinking that like Brandon Staley was going to get left at the tarmac. And he has had dramatically worse games, moments than anything that happened tonight. But ultimately, when you fuck up and you blow random game after random game you should have won, game you should have won over and over and over for 2.5 years, you get into a position where just kind of a weird game against it's not, I wouldn't view the Ravens in the history of my life as some quote unquote elite team, but relative to 2023, look at their record, like they're one of the elite teams in the NFL. And to me, them and Kansas City are the two best teams in the AFC. So yeah, this is weird game. You got a chance to win. They're not running away with it because they're not scoring any points, even though you're turning the ball over and your defense comes to play and Herbert's off. And for the majority of the game, Herbert was not good. And that to me, it's why the moment Justin Tucker missed that kick, which is jarring to watch. It really is. It'd be like Tiger Woods back 9 of a major, up 1, pumped it out of bounds. It is prime. Your jaw would hit the floor. When you watch Justin Tucker and he lines up, it never crosses your mind. Think how many kickers, how many people that you've watched, if you're in your 30s, kick field goals, college or pro over the years, where you're like, this guy's not going to make it. Even the good ones, you're like, I sure hope he makes it. Justin Tucker is the most automatic player I've ever seen at that position. I actually don't even think there's a close second, and I would include Vinatieri. Vinatieri maybe in the playoffs, but regular season, no one has ever struck the emotion in my body. This thing's going to split the uprights. I don't know if he slipped. I don't know what happened. When he missed that field goal, and then they drive the field, you go, God, we got ourselves a ball game. And then he just obviously give up that play to Zay Flowers, and it's over. And it feels like now he's been unofficially fired, but like this thing's over. I mean, what a disappointing run, and what a waste. Me and Colin talked about the wasted opportunity with the Buffalo Bills, but at least they threw their hat in the ring, right? They made it to an AFC Championship game. They had the Chiefs right on the ropes until Kelsey and Hill pulled those crazy plays out of their you-know-what and led to the game-tying field goal, and they ended up losing in overtime. The Chargers never even had a moment. Their one moment over the last couple years with Herbert was blowing a second half with Brandon Staley in this coverages, and Trevor Lawrence having actually his moment where he comes back from whatever 4 interceptions in the first half. And it's just pretty sad because some teams just always suck, right? Up until this year, the Lions just consistently suck. You expect the Lions to not be good. You remove Tom Brady from Tampa Bay, the overwhelming majority of my life, they're not going to be any good. A lot of it's like they're players. You're watching them, you're like, something's off. That's usually bad teams, right? No different in college football. There are some programs that are good. Most programs, that are going to be consistently bad. Then there's the Chargers, who every single year, definitely the last 20 years, you go, God, I like the majority of players at different positions. Now, we could argue on this individual season, especially where they're at with the injuries. But overall, I don't think it's arguable when the season started. You go, God, I like the Chargers roster. This Chargers team should easily be a 10-11 win squad. And now you're looking up, they're 4-7. They feel destined, probably best case, to go like 6-11. They just paid the quarterback absurd amount of money. Like, at least if you're the Bengals and you lose out, you go, well, fuck. We had kicked the shit out of the 49ers, and then we beat the Bills, and we're like, we're about to make a run. We're about to go right back to the AFC Championship game, and we look forward to seeing the Chiefs or the Ravens or whoever we got to play. And all of a sudden, his wrist, hand, whatever, I still haven't even seen the headline of his injury, but he's out for the season, nothing you can do. Like sometimes in life, you have to chalk things up. It just didn't go our way. We got screwed. Like, first game of 2008, Tom Brady gets his leg snapped. Peyton Manning's back goes out. You don't have him all season. There's nothing you can do. Things are out of your control. There's another thing when Justin Herbert literally plays every game. You got Khalil Mack. No, Joey Bosa is now hurt, but he was out there the majority of the games. You got Eckler, Keenan Allen. You got all these guys, and you're just losing constantly in every way imaginable. You can't even make it up. And it just sums up the Chargers. And the only way they can get themselves out of this mess, you can hope and pray to throw at the wall the next coordinator. Hire the dude from let's just say the Ravens, right? And just go, God, I hope he's the next dynamic guy, or just elevate Kellen Moore. But you see, we talk a lot about quarterbacks in drafts, right? It's like a 50-50. You're basically playing the chance game. Even when you think the guy's a fantastic prospect, chance that he hits, the chance that he's a good player, or the chance that he's just not a starter in 3 or 4 years are exactly the same. And the chance that he's an elite player is slim to none. It's no different with coaches, right? It's probably even harder to find a good coach. It clearly is. There are more good quarterbacks in the NFL, I'd argue. Like, there's at least 12 to 14 guys that you could compete to win a playoff game with. I do not think there are 14 playoff level coaches that I would feel good about having as my head coach. And the Chargers have to go head coach hunting. Now, luckily, they have an asset that everyone's going to want. Just like if the Bills were to fire Sean McDermott, though I think his resume has given himself some leeway for another season. But these guys are so rich now, and most of them aren't willing to just lose when the expectations are high. When you have a Josh Allen or you have a Justin Herbert who's under contract, your job is very, very, very desirable, right? Colin's been saying this for a couple of years. I mean, the best job we've ever seen when you factor in, actually, it's not bad, was LaFleur taking over for Aaron Rodgers. What, you get a guy who still has MVPs in his back pocket? Now, you play a role in that, but not many jobs that you get to take over. And I'm not comparing either one of those guys to Aaron Rodgers. He already had MVPs and he had a Super Bowl. But like, I think we have to admit the talent of Justin Herbert. Like, if you can't see it, I don't know what we're arguing. Does he have some flaws? Does he play some bad games? Of course, it's the NFL. For the most part, I think we'd all have to acknowledge, beside Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts, like, I don't know if I'd want him over anyone. And that might include Lamar Jackson, too. Now, if you want to take Lamar over him, I'm cool with that. But that's the list of guys we're talking about right now. So, and clearly they're all in the same world when it comes to compensation, and rightfully so. But Lamar Jackson gets the Ravens infrastructure. They have the highest paid retired general manager in the history of the league, according to their owner, in Ozzie Newsome, who like goes to the games, on top of Harbaugh and DaCosta. Like, and then you factor in the culture there, how consistent they are, how well they draft, how well they build a team. It's the complete opposite. Now, Lamar, listen, I'm not diminishing anything Lamar has done, because when he got to the Ravens, they were not playing well, and he helped save John Harbaugh's career. But once he started playing well, it's pretty easy for them to build a really good team around him. Now, we can nitpick, like they hadn't had a wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. But fuck, they win a lot of games. He plays a big role in that, but so does the organization. When you watch the Chargers, there's the polar opposite. Like, they don't have much in common with the Andy Reid Chiefs, with the John Harbaugh Ravens, right? With Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, or Howie Roseman and the Eagles. Like, the infrastructure, he does not have that. He has a cheap owner who just refuses to be aggressive when it comes to coaches. And it consistently bites you. It didn't necessarily tonight, like I said, but in the macro scheme of things, it's just always been their downfall ever since they got rid of Marty Schottenheimer. And the Ravens, like, I don't even know what to say about the AFC. I mean, I really don't. Because the culture, technically a playoff team. Give me a fucking break. Colts ain't winning a playoff game, right? But who do you trust in the AFC? I thought the Browns were one of the best teams. I can't take you seriously if Dorian Thompson-Robinson's your quarterback. Can't do it. What did Michael Singletary say? Can't do it. Won't do it. Refuse. Not happening. I don't care how good your defense is today withstanding. The Chiefs, this is the worst offense they've had in the Andy Reid era. Let's face it. Now, their defense is good. He's a Super Bowl champion, quarterback Super Bowl champion. They have most of their players Super Bowl champions. They don't feel as good as they have been, and a lot has to do with just their inability to score, but their defense is good. I think you'd have to pick them right now, but I don't feel great about it. I felt better about it last year. But who else do you like? I mean, the Dolphins just lost Jalen Phillips to a torn Achilles. Their defense, wasn't exactly Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor over the last, 7-8 weeks. Now, they have a good defensive coordinator, but let's see them win a playoff game before I take them seriously. So say what you want about the Ravens, right? Mark Andrews' injury, not ideal. I would say their passing game is not something you're going to feel great about in a playoff game, but defensively, they're really good. Clowney's, it feels like, playing the best football of his career. Of course, he does that for the Ravens. When we talk about infrastructure, part of infrastructure is getting guys who've underachieved on other teams, get them to your team, and then they look good. So I would say the Ravens and the Chiefs right now, to me, are the clear favorites in the AFC. I know Dolphins fans love to be like, you never give us any respect. I'm sorry, I'm not going to. Because more than likely, now who knows? They still, right? They have the same record as everybody. But, like, are you going to Baltimore and Kansas City and winning a game with Tua Tagovailoa? I don't think I can imagine that. And the Jags, one other take, and I'll probably get into this week. Like, I think I'd rather have CJ Stroud than Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, so the Ravens, listen, part of the NFL, this is not college. No style points, find a way to win. Something magical happens when the third quarter ends and the fourth quarter begins. The energy changes. The fourth quarter is where games are won, where champions are made. And in business, it's where sales teams become legends. That's why HubSpot built Sales Hub, to give sales reps the deal-making tools they need to win in Q4 and close the year strong. Sales Hub, prospecting workplaces, organizes your schedule, goals, and to-do lists in one place to save your team precious fourth quarter time. Smart sequences help sales reps close deals faster than ever. And with an easy-to-use deal management tool, reps can find, track, and close deals all in one place. Plus, AI forecasting helps you accurately predict future success, which means less hoping for deals and more crushing targets. Put your sales team on the fast track to winning Q4 with Sales Hub. Learn more at HubSpot.com/sales. And last but not least, listen, I've said this forever. If you watch golf, you know how little NBC cares about you, right? As a consumer, the way if you watch Notre Dame football, which for the most part, I don't watch. I really only watch Notre Dame over the last decade when they play other powerhouse teams, but I don't watch the Notre Dame package like I would with Alabama or USC. And obviously those programs aren't packaged. They fly around like ESPN one week, ABC the next week, CBS, whatever. You just kind of rotate through broadcasters. For the most part, NBC, you have all the Notre Dame games. You watch Jason Garrett and you watch Jack Collinsworth, you want to throw up in your mouth. And today, and I understand, like, I'm not blaming Chris Collinsworth, right? The dude deserves a break. He had to work on Thanksgiving night in Seattle. Dude lives in Ohio, so, like, I get it. But I didn't have the game because I recorded with Colin, had it on mute, and then I just left it on mute. I went out to the kitchen, slammed a couple pieces of pizza. I'm as fat as I've ever been. Some M&Ms. I just stuffed it in my mouth. Game comes out in the second half. I unmute it, and I hear his voice. And I can't believe it. But I can't, because NBC right now, they're doing insane cost cutting. So they're cheap. And most sports executives don't really know what they're doing. They just hire famous players. I knew at the moment they hired a couple years ago Drew Brees, this is not going to work. Being in the media or talking about football, you have to have a personality, one. And that's just to be a studio guy. And two, to call games, you kind of got to be the star. And you kind of got to carry it. Universally, we all agree John Madden was a superstar. Everyone liked him. We can disagree or argue how good John Gruden was or wasn't, but no one can argue that John Gruden wasn't a TV star. He was made for that medium, right? And he shined. Whether you thought he was full of shit or whatever, he could handle a game and just keep you kind of entertained. Part of calling one of these games, if you're not a super famous former player, and I think Troy Aikman's good at his job, but he's a very, very famous former player. If Tom Brady ever did it, whether he's good or not, at least for the first couple of years, it would not matter. He's Tom Brady. Eventually, though, you got to be able to entertain us. The game doesn't just speak for itself. You have to speak. And Mike Tirico is clearly one of the more talented play-by-play guys in the history of sports. You put him next to Jason Garrett, it really exposes Jason Garrett. And honestly, it's a giant FU to all of us to put Jason Garrett, Sunday Night Football. This is the number one television show in America. In our entire country, the number one television show is Sunday Night Football. I guess sometimes you got to go to the backup. Totally understand. And if Derek Jeter's starting shortstop, the backup shortstop might not be Alex Rodriguez. But like the Yankees, you better have a contingency plan. And that's not good enough. That's an embarrassment. And that, to me, is a double middle finger to all of us who make Sunday Night Football the number one television show in America. And unlike television series, where if you're watching some big television series, and it's different now because most of them are streamed, but back in our day, right? Let's just go my day. Some of the big shows, whether it was Fresh Prince or you name it, Seinfeld or Friends or whatever, I couldn't remove Jerry Seinfeld or Jennifer Aniston or Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, and it be the same show. It's in major trouble because we come for the character, really, right? And how they interact in that show. The one way that these sports networks or these people that buy the sporting rights have us by the balls, I'm coming for the game. So whether my dog was calling the game or John Madden's calling the game, I'm still there to watch Ravens Chargers. And they know that. They got us all by the balls. So they treat us like shit. Say this for Amazon. They always treat you well. You need to return something? Send it back. There's an issue, immediate customer service. Never had one issue. Not shocking, they're the number one company in the world. Yet NBC, who cost-cutting everywhere, knows that John Middlekauff and Billy and Josh and William and James and Mike and all you guys watching are coming for the game. So if they throw Jason Garrett or just a wall not saying anything, they got you. And that's bullshit. That's a terrible way to do business. And I thought tonight, again, was completely embarrassing. He should not be calling games. He's terrible. Just because what? He was the Cowboys head coach a couple years ago? Nobody cares. Not a soul cares. Say this. I don't think Tony Romo's that good anymore, but at least he's a big personality. Jason Garrett is not. Do better, NBC.